Welcome to another show, Vision of Growth. I'm your host, Larry Sassano. I'm the president of the Economic Development Council, serving Okaloosa County. I've been host of this show for almost 16 years now. If you notice, the stage has changed a little bit. I don't have a guest today. This is the last show I'll be doing as the president of the EDC. I'm retiring, and I want to thank first Cox Communication for allowing the EDC to have this time to be able to air some of the ideas and thoughts, wisdom of some of my special guests. You know, I always told my guests the same thing. I said, this show's about you, not about me, it's about you. I'll take your lead, whatever direction you want to take it. I never had a guest turn me down for a show. I've enjoyed the many, many shows I've done. And of all the things that I've done with the EDC, this is probably one of the things I'll miss the most. I want to thank Jerry and Sean and all the good people at Cox Communications. They've been great to work with. And I thought for something a little different to close out my 16 years doing these taping is some highlights of some of the guests that I've had in the past years. Guests like Gray Swoope, Florida Secretary of Commerce and CEO of Enterprise Florida.
There is just a shift in thinking in this state. For so many years, our economy has been so good. And it's been good based on traditional things that we're very familiar with in this region, that we've become almost just so reliant on it that we just didn't think beyond what might happen if some of these things went away. And so as we're looking forward now, people are beginning to embrace what we're doing in economic development. And of course, here in the Panhandle, you guys have always been good at it because you just look up to the north here to Alabama or Mississippi or Georgia. Those guys, those states are always focused on economic development. I look at the state of Florida, and we're so strong in so many areas. You look at our defense industry, which, by the way, is a $60 billion industry in the state. You look at what's going on in space. You look at technology. Our life sciences sector right now is the second fastest growing sector in the United States. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you look at the last 5 years percentage growth in life sciences, the state of Florida is number 2 in percentage growth. You look at all that's going on in this state and the things that we can brag on, and I tell you, it's time that we brag upon our economic development team, the professionalism and the aggressiveness that we're doing. The thing is that in economic development that we've realized in this state, it's a team sport. We've known that outside the state, people that do economic development, that you have to work together. But in this state, we're beginning to realize that we have to work together. So our public-private partnerships, people like Space Florida, Visit Florida, Enterprise Florida, DEO, even Herschel Vineyard and Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Transportation, all of us talking, communicating, working together to create jobs. So I like to think of economic development as this. There's 3 phases. The first phase is the product development. That's getting your product ready. That's education, that's workforce training. Those are things that Workforce Florida is very involved in. It's things that DEOs have involved in through the Agency for Workforce Innovation that it's now rolled up in it. It's preparing your product, and there's much more to that, but I'm just kind of simplifying it. Look at what's happening in the defense industry. It's your economy in so many ways. There's the private sector side that goes with it, this federal side of it. We have to look at that from a competitive standpoint. You're very fortunate that David is, Dr. Goetsch is chairman of the Florida Defense Support Task Force. You've got 6 of the 13 members from this region. The state recognizes the importance of this region, and it is important that that group stays working together, will not get divided, and work together as a state that we can protect what we have here. International trade in this state has a huge part of our economy. It is going to play an even greater role. There was a report that came out, I think it was day before yesterday, that showed that Florida is on track to have another banner year in trade next year. And you think about it, with 15 deep water ports, with the logistics, with the opening of the Panama Canal, there's great opportunity in trade. Panhandle gets this. You guys do a very good job of working with business. There's some other parts of the state that can really improve their game. So we've got to get better in that game, in that organic growth, and I kind of like to think of it as organic growth on steroids. And so in closing, let me say this. If you look at those three areas, you look at our team working together, I think we got a bright future in our state. One of the things that in Governor Scott's State of the State that just really stuck out with me, he has a lot of quotes and a lot of them have been picked up, but I really thought what he said describing Florida really hit home with me. He said Florida is a place where bold people come to build their dreams. I thought, wow, that is really a very visionary statement, because if you think about it, it's true. So if it's the entrepreneur that's building their dreams, if it's somebody that's in the tourism industry, the space industry, if you want to do commercial space, come here and build your dream.
Dr. David Goetsch.
Well, when I came into higher education, I was running programs that prepared students for jobs. Yeah. I had all of the technical programs at the college. And at that time, we had quite a few of them. In fact, about half of the college's enrollments were in technical programs that stopped at the associate degree level, stopped at 2-year level, yeah, and sent students, graduates out to get jobs. And I very quickly learned in a small community like ours, that's only half the job. If you're preparing people for jobs on the left hand, you'd better be creating jobs for them on the right hand, or all your college is a brain drain.
Dr. Rick Harper from UWF. I think I had Rick on several times.
Our office oversees the Florida Small Business Development Center network. The SBDC network is 35 offices around Florida. They handle information outreach to small businesses who need, they need information on how do you open a tanning salon, or they might need information on how do I sell to government agencies. The SBDC provides that kind of information. They're located, headquartered at the universities, the SU State University System universities around the state, and then they have smaller satellite offices as well. So when you put those three functions together, the Haas Center for Business Research, along with the Small Business Development Center network, under the umbrella of the Office of Economic Development and Engagement, that's President Bentz's vision of doing more for economic development across the region.
Greg Britton, CEO for Walton Machining.
Customer diversification is basically, we're 80% aerospace and defense, so the market as it is today is not really great in aerospace and defense, and it could get worse for all of us. But one thing you can look at in that is we're pretty well spread across the aerospace and defense world. We make product for the F35 and then as well as the CH-47. So a lot of customer diversification as far as Lockheed, the Boeings, the world, Northrop Grumman's, Raytheon's, the General Dynamics. So we're pretty spread across on the customer base from an aerospace and defense side of the house. We got tired of product not being on our dock on time. Mm-hmm. Once it got out of our facility, we lost control of it. And there just is a market need out there for that service. And so today we've got, the chemical finishing, anodized chem film, passivation, non-destructive testing, shot peening, and mag particle inspection. So we've got all those services under one roof today.
Yeah.
So
now, how many metal finishing operations are within a certain, let's say, 50-mile radius of your operation?
Within a 50-mile radius?
Just ballpark.
Very few.
Very few.
Maybe a couple,
And maybe a 100-mile radius, a few more?
A few more, yeah.
So what you're telling us is that the metal finishing, there's a demand for what you're doing, yet there's not a lot of available companies that, why is that?
It's so hard to get in metal finishing today. You got to have the right certifications to get in there, and that's what we found. We thought actually when we built it, we thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was. A lot of our customer base today, and especially in the aerospace and defense world, is asking for NADCAP approvals. And those are approvals that they will not come in and certify you as a vendor for them unless you have that. It's kind of the chicken and egg thing.
Yeah.
You have to have the NADCAP approval before you can bring a customer on, but you have to have the history behind you to be NADCAP approved. So, we've built the facility for the aerospace side of the house. Yeah, we do. We've got a lot of great people over there. I'm so proud of that group over there. We built that thing from, ground zero. We was just a shell of a building, and they really put in a hard effort to get this thing going. It's a lot of hours. If you went to that facility and looked, you talked about how clean our floor was at our manufacturing side of the house. it's as equally as clean. You could eat off of it, you know, and you wouldn't find another metal finishing facility in the southeast anyway that has the type of equipment we have with the cleanliness and the high-tech equipment we have.
How do you market that? I mean, you obviously have a great customer base with the Boeings and Lockheeds and the General Dynamics, some of these other prime contractors. How do you market yourself outside of their network?
Well, it's been difficult because a lot of our customers that we'd be targeting feel like they're our competitors in some cases, unless you get out in the Boeings and the Lockheeds of the world. And so we just hired a salesman for metal finishing to help try to boost that up a little bit and target the right group. And we've also went on a campaign to say, hey, you know, it's a separate facility. Our manufacturing facility doesn't see what we're even doing over there. Yeah. So you don't need to be worrying about the competition level. We just want to give you a good service that you deserve.
Excellent. Well, you talked to the EDC previously about structuring a special kind of training program that you felt other companies in the area could also take advantage of. Can you elaborate on your idea?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, today it's difficult to find people in our trade, and you know, we're wanting to build this as a manufacturing area, and it's just difficult to find those people locally, and what we end up doing is stealing from one another or hiring from outside the state, which is not a problem, or do training programs like we have currently in-house of, you know, not really an apprenticeship training, but on-the-job training. But there's a lot of time and money that we put into doing that, and every company in this area is doing about the same. Yeah. And what I'm really looking for is, you know, the colleges to get together, UWF, Northwest Florida State College, and maybe make it a three-legged stool, you know, the EDC be involved and TechMan be involved. Definitely. And come up with a manufacturing excellence center to where we can truly bring people up through this manufacturing excellence center that has purchasing capabilities and, you know, whether it's soldering that we need in the area, whatever we may need, machining, 5-axis machines, CNC programming, CAD and drafting, and make it to where those people, when they come out, maybe they can't just go and fire a machine up, but they have the basic soft skills and backgrounds behind them to be able to come into our workforce and work, and they'll make good money at it. Yeah. I thought about the oil field work is that it's a lot of 5-axis machining, and we're really big into 5-axis. We have 16 spindles that are 5-axis, wow, which is kind of unusual for, you know, machine shop. Yeah. So so that industry, did you select them or did they find you? We were at a trade show in Houston. It's been 6 or 7 years ago, and it was kind of just a bump into them, and they kind of quizzed us about what our capabilities were. They made a couple visits, but it didn't really go as fast as we wanted it to. But the last 3 years, it's really started to pick up, and that's just because we've proven ourselves to them. You know, our 5-axis capabilities with on-time delivery and a good quality product, aggressive in what we do, and accept change. And so, you know, it's been difficult, I'm going to tell you, to get into some of the areas because of, you know, the type of materials that you have to work with versus the aerospace. A lot of what we do is aluminum in the aerospace world, and a lot of the oil field is a harder material. So there's been a learning curve there from the perishable tooling and how you buy it and where you buy it at and speeds and feeds you need to run that machine at. But our guys are good and they can get over that hump, and they have. So let's talk about the some of your work with Lockheed, like the F35 contract. What does for Walton Machining do for Lockheed? Well, there's several parts. We about have 300 part numbers now, unique part numbers for the F35. Some for the C-130s as well, but mainly the F35. And it was kind of cool. You know, the other day our employees got to enjoy in a ceremony that we had, and we had Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith come on, come and do a presentation. You know, I don't know how many people know of Lieutenant Colonel Eric Smith, but he was the guy that flew the first few F-35s into Eglin, and it was a great talk that he gave our employees. And what's really cool about that is you can see the airplane flying in in this area. they know that they're building a mini city out there at Eglin Air Force Base
Yeah.
for the F-35, and they actually get to hear from somebody that, you know, the parts we built and put on that aircraft and how important it is that those parts are accurate and to specifications. So yeah, it's been a good experience with Lockheed. We were actually Lockheed Supplier of the Year in 2010, and
Yeah.
you know, it's been a good.
That's pretty major.
It is. It is. It was.
There was something like 3,000 suppliers, so you were the Supplier of the Year, you know, a couple years ago. That's pretty impressive, you know. And of course, El Norman, who I really enjoyed interviewing, the chief test pilot for Lockheed Martin for the F-35 Lightning II. 22 program at Lockheed Martin Washington Operations, where I understand that you met El.
Right, Al and I worked on the F-22 campaign. I was working the Washington piece, and Al was actually flying the airplane, and we worked very well together for a number of years.
Fantastic. But then let's get into the questions and the discussions about this great program and what these two gentlemen do in relation to the program. First, El, why do we need the F-35?
Well, Larry, the F-35 brings some very unique capabilities to our fighting force and our partner country fighting force. First off, we term these airplanes as fifth-generation airplanes. And what we mean by that is we've taken elements of stealth, integrated sensor operation, sensor fusion, performance of a fighter that works like the best of the fourth-generation fighters, the F-15s, the F-16s, the F-18s. We've taken all that and combined it into one platform, one airplane. And we've not only done that in one airplane, but we've actually done it across three variants that are common in a sense, 75% common, so that the air forces of the world, our Marine Corps, or any force that needs a STOVL landing, a vertical landing type airplane, or naval forces that need to land on a carrier, we've created one airplane that does all these things. Getting back to fifth generation, it gives us the capability, a quantum leap in capability above and beyond what we have with an F-15 or F-16 because of those systems, the ability to not be seen, the ability to operate in an environment where we can dictate the tactics, where we can operate as we like to. And that's what these airplanes bring.
In layman's terms, what makes this particular plane, this generation plane, more superior to anything else that's in the air today?
Well, as I mentioned, you know, you can see from looking at the airplane the way we've designed in the stealth from the beginning. You can take a look at the angles of the airplane, how we've lined everything up, how we make the airplane look, how we've created internal carriage for our weapons, the shape and the smoothness of the airplane. That all lends itself, those are things that we've designed in from the beginning of this program to this airplane to make this airplane very hard to see. So the enemy has a very difficult time seeing us. At the same time, we've put extremely modern, state-of-the-art sensors into the airplane, a radar, an electro-optical targeting system that exists underneath the airplane, a DAS system of cameras all around the airplane that allow us to see outside day or night in any type of light or no light. We've combined all those things. We have the ability to link together with other aircraft to get information from other aircraft and present it to us in the cockpit. We can take our information from our cockpit and present it to other people, whether they be on the ground or in the air, and combine all those things into one platform to allow the pilot then to basically dictate the airspace, understand with total situational awareness what's going on around him. And to a fighter pilot, that's kind of the name of the game. Once we know what's going on around us, we can actually determine what we want to do. We can see an enemy before he sees us.
Excellent.
We can shoot an enemy before he sees us. We can kill an enemy before he sees us. So just from that, it becomes a game changer in the sense of what does it bring and what types of capabilities does it allow us as a nation and our partner nations to have.
JR, in terms of the economic impact, can you address that with these three models we have in front of us?
Well, the economic impact to Okaloosa County and to the Emerald Coast is pretty obvious. We've got 3,000 people out at the base right now that support the F-35 program. Significant amount of military construction has come into the area to support the airplane. And this is a long-term program. We're going to be bringing students in to be maintainers and pilots for years and years. So this isn't something that's a one-hit wonder economically in the county, but something that will sustain it and drive continued economic development through many years here at Okaloosa
Yeah, that
County.
impact is just going to continue
Absolutely.
to add value to the area here. Well, now let's go back to you about the capabilities that you've outlined are unique, and you've flown the F-22 as well. And I know, JR, you were involved with that program, as Jeff Reamer was. And this is, going to be the future. What's the longevity expectation of this particular plane as compared to the F-16, F-15, F-18?
Well, Larry, as we talked already, the fourth generation of the legacy fighters, as we'll call them, F-15, F-16, they're kind of towards the end of their lifespan in the sense that we've added capability, we've done things, we've allowed them to grow and be with us for a long time, but we've kind of put everything on them we can. We've kind of gotten everything out of them, or just about everything out of them. We changed the F-15 a little bit, we made an F-15E. We changed the F-16 a little bit, added capabilities, added tanks, added sensors, added things that we keep hanging on the airplane, but eventually we're kind of running out of where we need to go. What we need to do, and what we are doing is, with both the F-22 and the F-35, is we've created an aircraft now, like I said, that's hard to see, but we have all these capabilities built into the system, things that we were adding to the other airplanes. So now, in fact, I like to think of the F-35 as a weapon system platform, and one that gives the services unique flexibility and unique ability to adapt and grow for decades and decades to come.
The little pilots in here, the helmets, I remember when we had the orientation that JR invited us to several months ago. What was unique about these helmets once you put that on?
Yeah. The hardest thing about these helmets on these little pilots is just their size. It's hard to get those to be so little. But the helmets that we are using are state-of-the-art in the sense that for the first time I've flown an airplane that is a fighter-type airplane. Now we're without what we call a HUD, a heads-up display, a combining glass in front of us. Yeah. We've created a helmet that kind of incorporates things that we use in a piecemeal basis on other airplanes, that we've now taken the HUD imagery and put it on our visor in our helmet. Mm-hmm. We've taken the imagery from what we would normally use as night vision goggles and actually have that built in and into the helmet. We can see imagery from those 6 cameras that I was talking about that stare out into space around the aircraft, and now we can project that onto our helmet. So while we look around in pure darkness, we actually see what amounts to daylight, and we can look around and even through the aircraft because of this helmet. So it's a very unusual situation. It also, I liken it to kind of the movie Avatar in the sense we have a cable that comes out the back of our airplane, and we plug ourselves into the beast, just like in Avatar. So we become more one with the aircraft, and the F-35, you definitely start to get a feeling that from the way that we interact with the airplane, we're more in tune, more in touch with the aircraft and the weapon system than we have been with previous airplanes.
Commissioner Bill Roberts.
Compared to other counties that really don't have the opportunity for economic development, don't have the instruments that we have in place here to go after to help businesses expand or relocate to Okaloosa County. And if you compare to counties that don't have that opportunity, you look at counties that are capped out at a 10 mil rate, which is the highest you can go in the state of Florida, 3 times higher than what we are in Okaloosa County. You compare it to other counties without economic development, and you look at the high unemployment rates that they have. In Okaloosa County, we have one of the lowest in the state. We're much lower than the state average, much lower than the federal average. Yeah. But, you know, the way I express it, economic growth is what you put into it.
Councilwoman Joyce Gillie Gossom for Walton Beach City Council.
We just Tuesday approved 5 or 6 new programs, and they are all economic incentive drivers. That's their purpose.
Yes.
And they range from matching streetscape to building facade, so windows, doors, awnings, signage, those kinds of things. And they go all the way to a revolving loan program, so that if you are planning to expand your business or add to the physical building related to your business, you can apply for a very low interest 2 to 5 year loan and get the money that you need to do those improvements. And people will say, well, why are you using taxpayers' money to give to, you know, this business to do this, that, or the other? And again, you know this, but most people don't. Economic development is not just how many jobs are you adding. Yes, it is that, but it's not just that. It's creating an environment, it's creating a space, if you will, that is attractive, that draws not only businesses but also residents, because without the people, there's no one to patronize the business. So you have to keep that balance, and we're trying to make Fort Walton Beach appealing visually as well as infrastructure-wise to businesses and residents. And so that's why we've put these incentives in place.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
You know, one thing I learned from my guests is that they love what they do. And they talked about their projects, their companies, their goals, economic growth and stability. That's what this show is all about. I hope it will continue. Yes, it's been 16 years that I've been taping at the Cox Studios on Racetrack Road in Fort Walton Beach. What a great staff to work with. And thank you, Cox Communications, for all that you do and your community leads in supporting organizations like the Economic Development Council. I've enjoyed having a great audience like you as well. Great guests, great audience. It's a great team. I look forward to serving Okaloosa County in a different role and bringing more growth and prosperity to our great community. Thank you, and I enjoyed being with you also.